Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. Today is truly exceptional. Probably one of the most exceptional that you may ever see or have ever had. Maddie Freeman's story is unlike any other. Her work is centered around something truly important, saving lives. After losing 10 friends to suicide and battling depression herself, Maddie made it her mission to improve the well-being of young people. She founded NOSO, a nonprofit dedicated to breaking the stigma around mental health, fostering community, and providing critical resources to those in need. Her impact has been recognized globally from being Forbes 30 Under 30 and also a Watson Global Fellow for our Global Fellowship, creating real and lasting change. Maddie has traveled here from Colorado. We ask that you please give her undivided attention, no phones, no headphones. Please refrain from taking any breaks. You do get your break at 11. All that being said, please join me in giving me a very warm welcome to Maddie all the way from Colorado.
Thank you, Sarika. Thank you, everyone. It's so good to see you in sunny Florida. It's so much nicer here than Colorado, so I'm definitely happy to be here. It's been really cold, so definitely a nice day. Yeah, I'm really excited today to chat about the topic of digital wellness or digital well-being, which to me means balancing addictive technology with mental health and figuring out how to live a life full of flourishing in the digital age. So before I get into, my company and what we do and all the work that we do, I just want to kind of share a little bit more information about you. So like she said, I am the founder of NOSO, and I've been doing this work for about 5 years now. And I'll give you a little bit more of a backstory just about me and kind of who I am so that you're familiar and, I'm not just some stranger standing up here kind of chatting your ear off. So, sorry, I'm getting over kind of really bad cough about 2 weeks ago. So might be coughing a little bit. Sorry about that. But so for some context, so I'm born and raised in Colorado. I went to CU Boulder and I actually just graduated last May. I spent my last semester actually abroad and it was the coolest experience ever. I lived in Australia, Japan, and Italy, and then I did a backpacking trip through Europe. So my last semester really kind of finished it off with a bang and it was really awesome. And now I'm not a student anymore and it feels really weird. So get ready, like being post-grad feels really interesting. It's kind of an interesting transition, but we're dealing with it. Like Sarika said, I was a Watson Institute fellow last August up in Boulder, and that was a really awesome experience where I got to, meet a lot of other entrepreneurs and figure out how to maximize the impact of my organization. So it's really cool actually to be here in Watson again, kind of separately in a different, space, because working with Watson last year was amazing. So another awesome little tidbit, I'm actually a fellow at McGill University up in Canada because my company has partnered with their Media Technology and Democracy Center. And I'm doing like a fellowship right now up there to kind of promote this idea of digital literacy and digital well-being up in kind of the Montreal, Toronto area. So I'm actually going to be living in Montreal for a month in April doing some work up there. So we're kind of expanding, I wouldn't say globally, but into a different country right now, which is really exciting. And yeah, from Colorado, basically. I'm living in Boulder right now and about to move to Denver once I get home from Canada. So a little more about me kind of personally. So my interests, I am kind of a typical Coloradan, I guess you could say. I really love nature a lot. I love hiking. I love hammocking up in the mountains, up in the trees. It's so peaceful. I love practicing mindfulness. So I really like doing activities like meditation, yoga, stuff like that, journaling. I like to ski a lot. The ski season is unfortunately ending right now, which is definitely kind of the only sad part about winter being over. And I really like traveling. I went to Paris and a few other places in December of last year. I've started baking and I started making bagels, which has been really fun. They're really good when they're fresh, so I would recommend it. It's also not that hard to make somehow. I really like EDM. Denver is the bass capital, so I'm really into heavy bass music, and I've been raving, I guess, for like 10 years now. I don't do it as much anymore, but I used to be really into it. That's Hesh. She's one of my favorite artists. And then I love spending time with people I love, my friends. That's one of my best friends, Lubert. His name is Luke Gilbert, so we call him Lubert. But yeah, we, meditate together, we journal together, and he's actually kind of foundational to some of the experiences I had early on taking social media detoxes because he did it with me. So I'll probably bring him up again later down in the presentation. But another random fun fact, this one's not there. I've randomly met a lot of celebrities. So recently I met Paris Hilton. I met Ariana Grande, 21 Savage. This was a picture of me in Subtronics, but he is not there for some reason. But one time I was sitting on the beach and in San Diego, and Jack Gillenski and Madison Beer just like randomly walked past me, and I went up and talked to them. So yeah, this is just kind of a funny random fact and ties into something I'm about to share as well. So we're gonna kind of go in chronological order. My story definitely starts kind of in early middle school. I always like to share a little bit about my kind of mental health journey because it is really what inspired me and a big part of the reason I do the work that I do today. So we're gonna start preteen Maddie, a little embarrassing. I'm gonna embarrass myself here. So this is kind of who I was when I was 13. I loved going to the pool with my friends. I played volleyball. As you can see, I'm holding up a Justin Bieber blanket. I was obsessed with Justin Bieber, very embarrassingly obsessed. I actually got him to follow me on Twitter, which is one of my biggest life accomplishments. He still follows me, so I don't even use Twitter anymore, but I cherish that. I put in work. I spam tweeted him every day. Like it was really embarrassing. But yeah, I was your typical 13-year-old. You know, I was trying crazy makeup looks off Pinterest. I was, you know, like I said, going to the pool. I was playing volleyball competitively. I had a lot of Snapchat streaks with my friends, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. But looking back, I realized that my mental health journey started in 5th grade. I remember in 5th grade, I started having some really kind of scary thoughts come up, and I started having some symptoms of depression that I was really afraid of. I didn't really know what was going on because I'm like 12 years old, right? I hadn't been talked to about mental health before. So at the time, I felt kind of isolated and alone in that experience. And in reflecting back, I don't usually share this in presentations, but today we have quite a bit more time than I usually do. And, you know, this is really, I think being vulnerable and authentic is really important when we're talking about mental health. So I always like to be as open as I can. So this is my sister. She is my best friend in the whole world. And this is my dad. Growing up, unfortunately, they were both addicts and alcoholics. So my childhood was fraught with really intense, horrible situations. My dad was gone all the time, you know, doing drugs, drinking. And then my sister started doing drugs and drinking right as soon as he got sober. So my childhood consisted of going in and out of rehabs, chasing down family members thinking they were dead. It was really traumatic. And I would say this is one of the biggest kind of contributing factors to why I struggled with mental health so early on, because having that foundation of your family that's supposed to be solid not being solid can be really difficult. I'm sure some of you have maybe experienced similar things, and if you have, I am here with you. I'm sorry you've gone through that. And for whatever reason, the way I kind of coped was through music. I loved music so much. It was really healing to me. And as embarrassing as the Justin Bieber thing is, as you can tell, I had like 8,000 posters in my room. It was something that, you know, helped me through it. And there were some really dark times, even just in middle school, struggling to get through the night. And I would play some Justin Bieber, play some Ariana Grande, and just kind of like soothe myself, go back to sleep. And it was a hard time. It was really hard. I ended up getting diagnosed with severe depression freshman year of high school. So definitely kind of helped to know and understand what was really going on behind the scenes. And so also reflecting back, when I was 13, I was spending a lot of time online. And a lot of this time was being spent on social media because I know you guys are a little younger, so you might have started using social media platforms earlier than I did, but it was around 6th grade when, you know, Instagram just came out and Snapchat just came out and people were just starting to use it. And no one had any idea what these platforms really were. We were kind of just like, oh, this is so cool. Like you can, you know, there's this place where I can see what my friends are doing and we can post these like really heavily edited, filtered photos and like, you know, experiment with our identities and figure out, like I said, I look up really funky hairstyles and makeup looks and try them at school and I looked awful, but it was fun and creative and it felt like a place for connection, right? And so I was using all these apps a lot. It was kind of my space, like I said, when I was struggling to kind of just go into another world and focus on something outside of myself. And I started feeling a lot of kind of side effects and symptoms from that, but I didn't realize until much later in life that those two things were correlated. So, you know, I started feeling fear of missing out. I was feeling jealous when people would hang out without me and post it on Snapchat. I was like, oh, why was I not invited? Or, you know, body issues. I was recommended thigh gap challenges that I did when I was 12 and I was doing like 100 squats a day for like 2 months and um kind of being told what my body should look like, and it kind of gave me some issues with the way I view myself. Everyone was overusing filters, so there's this kind of unrealistic expectation of how you're supposed to look. We all know all this stuff, but obviously when you're 12, 13 going through puberty, it can affect your developmental period a bit more than maybe you're expecting. And also our parents just weren't aware. Like they just thought, here's a phone, like, I don't know, just, go do whatever you want on it. Cause there was no communication about harm or any potential downsides of that. So yeah, I fell into kind of the normal traps a lot of people do, obsessing over likes, deleting a photo if it didn't get enough likes, feeling depressed sometimes. And this is something that looking back, I kind of regret spending so much time on, and I regret not knowing how it was going to affect me. So now we're going to kind of transition into high school. And I'm sorry, the beginning of my presentation is a little depressing, but I promise it'll get a lot better. So this is probably the saddest part. Throughout my years of high school, I lost 10 friends to suicide. And these are all my closest friends that I lost. And it's something that's, as you can imagine, very hard. These people all had something very special. And it's really, really, really hard to grieve that much, as a 15, 16, 17-year-old. Just one after another losing friends was very traumatic and something that obviously I will never forget. I think about these people every day. On the far left is Haley, in the middle is Ben, this is Lexi, this is Ryan, Lauren, and Hudson. And then there's a few others that we lost in our community, but these were people that meant a lot to me. And this is really the foundation of why I started doing the work I do. Losing this many people made me it put me in such a dark mental space that I knew that something needed to change because I didn't know what else to do. Like I was already struggling with depression. I was already feeling horrible. I was already going through the high school pains, and this happening was just kind of like too much for me. So now we're gonna get to the more inspiring part. So thanks for bearing with me through that. What I decided to do was in 2020, my friend Ryan had just passed away, and it was just kind of like too much. I realized, my school district, I went to Littleton Public Schools, which is just kind of a small town south of Denver, but they weren't doing anything about this issue, right? We were losing people left and right. And obviously it's not the school's fault, but they weren't supporting people. They weren't implementing mental health resources to support the community through these losses. And what I realized is a lot of these people knew each other. So they were struggling with their mental health and they were grieving someone they were close to, and then they'd take their own life. And it was kind of this cycle that kept happening. And I realized we could try to stop this if we could support the people at the school with mental health resources, like kind of just the bare minimum of mental health resources, right? And that just wasn't happening. The schools were sweeping it under the rug, acting like nothing was happening. Like you get the news someone died the night before and you'd have to show up for your math test the next day and no one would say a word about it other than obviously the students. So it was just really painful. And I think it kind of furthered the issue. So I kind of got myself together after a really awful candlelight vigil and decided to write a petition addressing the school district, basically asking them, can you please work with young people to implement more mental health resources? We are sick of losing people and we need something to change. And my goal was to get, hopefully 1,000 signatures. That was kind of what I was shooting for. And within 3 days, it got 14,000 signatures. The community just came together. The community really came together. Like it was insane. It was kind of my first experience almost having something. It wasn't like actually viral, but like everyone I had ever met my entire life was posting this petition, even people that like hated me. Like it was just something that like everyone experienced collectively, and even other generations, like people who had gone to LPS in the 80s were like sharing this petition, And I realized like everyone has been struggling with this and we just didn't know what to do. So it was this beautiful emotional moment where everyone just came together and we were able to kind of enact this change. And so funny thing enough, within 24 hours of me posting the petition, the school district reached out, was like, hey, we should have a meeting. I was like, good, okay, let's do it. So what ended up happening is I started becoming basically a youth consultant with the school district. And conveniently, it was a pandemic. I had just finished my first year of college and I decided to take a gap year. So I was at home in Littleton with no plans for an entire year and nothing to do. And so it kind of ended up aligning really well that I got to end up doing this work. So basically what was happening is I was having meetings with the kind of board of mental health at the district level every week. And we were just talking about everything that went wrong. And I was kind of ideating different solutions that we could implement. And what ended up being launched was a suicide prevention presentation in the health classes. That's now like a core part of the curriculum. We installed physical mental health spaces and rooms in the schools where if someone's struggling, they can go during the school day. And we launched a few other initiatives. And during this time, one of the initiatives I actually launched was just this idea of no social media November. Because I was just kind of throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what stuck, because I just wanted to support the community. And I saw just how powerful a grassroots effort was. Like really just this one petition created so much change in the community. And it was really inspiring because again, I was trying to channel that pain into something that would actually change my community. So it was a really awesome experience for me. I'll get a little more into kind of how I ideated Noto, but now I'm going to transition a little more into talking about kind of my entrepreneurial journey. So, just to give you some context, like I've always been kind of a hustler, I guess. Like I've always been very motivated by money, I guess. I'm not anymore, but I was always just kind of trying to create some sort of business or side hustle. And my first, I guess, company you could say is not actually a company, but I started giving stick and poke tattoos in high school. And I decided to turn it into like a whole thing, and I was like scheduling people. I was giving tattoos in my car during lunch and like on my off periods and like after school. I was charging like $20 a tattoo. I ended up giving over 250 tattoos to people at my school, and people were posting about it on Snapchat. Other people would reach out to me, and I was like marketing it and like learning how to manage money. And so it's kind of funny and like really ratchet, obviously. But I actually got in the school yearbook for it. They like interviewed me about it, which is the funniest thing ever because I feel like that's like not like I'm literally giving prison tattoos. Like that's not really something I feel like the school would be proud of. But anyway, that was early on how I was like, yeah, I want to be my own boss. I want to be an entrepreneur. Then once I got to college, I kind of college was really hard for me freshman year especially. I was in the business kind of I was a business major, and at CU Boulder the culture is a little interesting and I didn't really fit in super well. And so I was kind of just left to like kind of learn about myself and explore. And so I remember coming up with this idea of a stash it scrunchie, which basically was a scrunchie with a hidden Velcro pocket because I saw a problem, and as an entrepreneur does, you find a solution. I hate carrying purses. I actually have that's why I have my credit cards on the back of my phone. I just hate carrying things. So I figured out I could put my bike key and my money and my chapstick and my headphone all in a scrunchie, and you couldn't even tell there was anything in it. And it was really cool. So I actually went to like a idea forge lab. I taught myself how to sew. It was really bad at first, but I made some prototypes. I first did zippers. Zippers were a little too complicated, so I did Velcro instead. And I ended up kind of turning that into a side hustle. I started like an Etsy business. I started going to, as you can see in the middle here, I went to like conventions and kind of like makers markets and stuff like that to sell the scrunchies. And this is kind of when you can see the early stages of social impact come into play. 20% of profits always went to suicide prevention. So I always wanted the money to somehow support a community I cared about in some way. And this was really fun. I actually got to set up the scrunchie station at raves sometimes. Like I was literally at concerts and everyone's like headbanging and moshing and they'd come up to my scrunchies and it was really cool. So yeah, that's kind of my entrepreneurial journey. And luckily now I've started something that I'm more passionate about and that's actually more sustainable as an actual idea and company. But I'm grateful for these experiences because I learned a lot about what it means to be an entrepreneur during these kind of funky little side hustles. So now we're getting to college. I'm almost done with my story and I'll share more about what I actually do and know so. But I would say a foundational part of my college journey, but also my entrepreneurial journey was going out of my comfort zone. I kind of found this belief early on that if I just throw myself wildly out of my comfort zone at least once a day, I will always grow and I will always gain something from that experience, even if it goes poorly. So the way I kind of translated this into my experiences as an entrepreneur was using every resource available to me as much as I could. So freshman year of college, oh my gosh, I was, going around to all the entrepreneurial opportunities on campus and just like going for it with this scrunchy idea. I actually went to like brainstorming, ideation, founder events. I ended up randomly volunteering to pitch on stage in front of like 200 people. Like they were like investors, and I had never pitched before, and I was pitching a scrunchie. I ended up pitching in an actual pitch competition for the scrunchie as well, and coming up with a business model and an executive summary. Had never done any of this before, but I just wanted to try and see if it could resonate and see if I could come up with a plan to scale and launch a company like that. And it was really awesome. Like I got very involved in the entrepreneurial kind of hub at Boulder. Luckily, Boulder is a really awesome place for that. And it was an awesome experience. I got a scholarship to be on the innovation action team, which was kind of like the innovation entrepreneurship, I guess, hub. We were kind of like the leaders on campus that would, host events and share about entrepreneurship initiatives on campus. And it was really awesome. I got to sit on the board of a kind of a pitching company. So I got to see the back end of it where I was actually hearing pitches, judging them, and allocating funding to different seed startups, which was really awesome. So, like I said, this was kind of before I knew exactly what my life path would be. But again, I obviously had that kind of inkling towards entrepreneurship. And sophomore year, I decided to make that my focus. So I got to be a business administration management major with an emphasis in entrepreneurship, which ended up being great because I got to take classes dedicated to entrepreneurship. And it sounds like you guys are in kind of a similar program. And I really hope it's fruitful for you because I think it was something that helped me a lot through my journey. So now we're going to get to my company and what we do. So I just want to kind of backtrack a tiny bit and talk about my inspiration. So have any of you seen the Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix? Okay, about half you, a little less than half. Highly recommend this documentary. It is, I honestly credit it to my entire inspiration of why I started my company in the first place. Basically that freshman year when I was doing the suicide prevention work in the schools, I had gotten recommended to watch this documentary like by 10 people. It was insane. It was like in a week, like everyone was telling, my therapist even told me to watch it. Like I was like, okay, I'll watch it. Cause at the time it was one of the biggest documentaries on Netflix. It was one of the highest highest rated, highest viewed documentaries. They actually won Grammys for it, or not Grammys, what Oscars, I think. I don't know, sorry. But they basically created this film that dove into the business model of social media. It shared about, they brought in tech executives at Instagram, at Twitter, Vine, Pinterest, to discuss how they created the business model behind their company and what kinds of, design decisions went into that. And this was very eye-opening for me because they focused a lot on the harms of it, right? They talked about how the business model is designed to be addictive. It's designed to engage users. And they showed this mental health graph showing that ever since the adoption of the smartphone and the initial launch of social media, suicide rates have been exponentially increasing by 161%, and they have not slowed down ever since. So it was this straight line through the 80s, 90s, whatever. And then as soon as social media becomes available, and obviously that's correlation, that's not causation necessarily, but that kind of I viscerally remember I was sitting in my living room watching this at night and it just hit me. I was like, wow, I've been asking myself for all these years, why is this happening? Why is the mental health crisis so bad? Why have I lost so many friends? What's different about my generation than my parents' generation? Because, all of the older people I've talked to have always been like, I can't believe you lost so many friends. That's insane. I knew one kid who died in a car crash in high school, or maybe I had one person I knew that took their own life. But, the gravity of what I'd gone through just never seemed okay. And I wanted to figure out why. So when I saw this, it kind of gave me an inkling of I don't think social media is the entire reason why at all. Suicide is very, complex. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But it kind of gave me this aha that I think social media had been making everything harder to deal with, like depression and anxiety and loneliness and isolation, body dysmorphia. All these things existed before social media, but social media furthered and fueled these issues in a way that our generation was not equipped to deal with. And it gave me this aha moment, and that's why I decided to pilot something in the school. So I ended up coming up with this idea. It was literally October at the time. So I was like, okay, I first of all want to tell everyone about this because I felt like a lot of us hadn't understood the business model at this point. So this was 2020. I personally didn't know that they were buying all of my, or not buying, they were harvesting all of my data and using it to target advertising towards me, and they were profiting off of my time and attention. I didn't realize that. My attention was the product being bought and sold by advertisers, and I had no idea. And I had been unintentionally partaking in that for 7 years at that point, and it made me feel disgusted. I was angry, and I was like, whoa, this is not cool. I want people to be aware of this. So I kind of made this 40-minute presentation and went to the school district and I presented it. And then I said, okay, here's the deal. I want to try to do a month-long detox called No Social Media November. I've never done a detox before. I will do it. My friends will do it. If you guys want to do it, you're welcome to join me. And these high schoolers were sure, wow, I didn't realize the business model was like that either. That makes me feel bad. So I'm going to try it with you. And that tiny idea that was launched in a classroom of 30 people ended up growing into this global initiative that I now have the honor of running. And it's something that still to this day gives me goosebumps because I still remember those first students emailing me how much it was impacting them when they first tried it. Because I was going through the detox myself and I was gaining so much from it. I felt like that November, I grew more in that 1 month than I usually did in a full year. I was reaching all these goals. I started a book club with my friend Luke. We started a 30-day yoga challenge. I'd never done yoga before. We were meditating, never tried that before. I started, doing all these different activities that I never had time for because I was spending so much time online. And it was changing my life. I was like, my depression symptoms subsided a lot. And students were emailing me the same thing. They were like, oh my gosh, like my social life is flourishing. I'm seeing people, like I'm calling people instead of Snapchatting them and I feel so connected. And, I started a garden and I started doing all these activities and it gave me that feeling of like, oh, this is it. Like I created change. Like I made something that's working and I want to continue that. So what I ended up doing is actually pitching my project to the Social Dilemma because they had a grant competition. Like I said, I just would go out of my comfort zone. I had no expectation of winning. I just wanted to go for it because the worst they can say is no. That's kind of my motto. Worst they can say is no, you might as well try. I actually won the grant. It was the most amazing thing ever. I was freaking out. Thank you. I appreciate it. I remember I was sitting outside the post office with my mom and I got the email that I won and I started crying. I was like, there's no way. And so I actually ended up getting to interview the director of the Social Dilemma and feature him in my first short film that I made that we actually started showing in schools. I was definitely fangirling a little bit because, like I said, I've watched this documentary like 10 times, embarrassingly, and it is just like it's my passion fuel. It like brings me every day to continue doing this work. So highly recommend watching it. I'm gonna stop gassing it up now. But so now to kind of share more about my organization, but also give you almost a glimpse into the kind of education work that we actually do. I'm going to share a little bit more about the actual learnings from the Social Dilemma and the ways that social media is designed to be addictive. And so in kind of traditional classic pitch style, hold on. Oh, I don't think it's working. Hold on.
Where's the keyboard? It's right next to it. Give me one second.
Let's see. Oh, there we go. Cool. Sorry about that. We're good. So classic pitch style, I'm just going to present you very clearly and concisely what the problem my organization addresses is, because social media can present a lot of issues from political polarization to mental health to, disinformation, misinformation. There's all these different issues, but obviously because of my lived experience and where my passion lies, we try to kind of deal with the chronic overuse of social media and the amount of time that teens spend online and its impact on mental health and emotional well-being. That's really the foundation and goal that we go in every day with our programming to solve, is to help improve youth well-being through forming healthy relationships to technology. So when getting into more of the details around the business model of social media, there's kind of this foundational problem that, they're big tech companies. And when I say that, I'm referring to maybe TikTok, Instagram, X, whatever. They intentionally are designing these products, understanding your psychology better than your own psychology. So a lot of the people who are in charge of algorithmic decisions at these companies actually took classes at Stanford learning psychological manipulation tactics. So they've literally learned about how, dictators in the past, or maybe people who have, horrible incentives, have learned to use people's psychology to convince them to do things that they didn't want to do without them noticing. So they study things like casinos and how people get addicted to gambling. And they use the psychology behind that and plug it directly into the features of the social media platforms themselves, because they realize that the more time that you're scrolling and doing this, the more ads they can put in front of your face. And so the advertisers, I'm sure a lot of you already understand this, but I just want to make it clear in case it's not, I guess. But the more advertisers are paying Instagram and TikTok to put those ads in front of you, because they're highly targeted, because social media companies have so much information on you. They know who you talk to, they know who your ex-boyfriend is, they know where you're driving for lunch. I actually yesterday, I'm sure this happened to you. Yesterday I was driving to the airport with my mom and I literally was like, hey mom, I feel like I need to get like a travel credit card. Like I travel so much. Like I feel like it'd be better to rack up some points and like get, travel credits. And I'm not kidding. We're listening to SoundCloud and my SoundCloud brings an ad up and it goes, Do you love to travel? You should consider getting the Venture X Capital One card. And my mom was just recommending, no, yeah, let's open you a Capital One card. Like, I have this Venture X card. Like, I think that'd be good. I kid you not, the moment we're having that conversation, right? And so there's debate over whether your phone listens to you. It probably does, but for the most part, Google and all these big tech companies are harvesting every ounce of data on you, and they have this profile of you. They know you better than you know you, and they can target these ads towards you in an insane way. And so this is why Mark Zuckerberg is the richest man in the world. That's insane. Like, that's crazy that this platform that's free, right? You don't pay to use it. It's free, but it's not free. You are paying with your time, your attention, and your happiness. And so I'm being very negative. There's obviously a lot of benefits to social media. It's insane at how much it can connect you to information, to other people. It was the reason my petition blew up. Like, there's obviously benefits, but the inherent design of the platforms themselves is harmful. And that's something that I think is really important for people to have awareness around. So some specifics are, there's a lot of specific features, at play here. Every single feature on platforms like this are very intentional. They're not by accident. Even the founder, not the founder, but like someone who works at the executive level of Google even described that they designed Gmail's layout to be addictive. They selected the colors of the buttons to make you more likely to click on them. Like, even Gmail's designed to be addictive, which is insane. And so some of the features that I think are the most obvious is infinite scrolling. So I don't know if you remember back in the day, Instagram used to have an end. Like, you'd scroll through all your friends' posts and then they would hit the end and you're done, right? And then that's kind of a natural stopping point where your brain's like, okay, maybe I'll get up and go outside right now. Or maybe I'll, do something else, and you kind of swipe out of the app. They realize that isn't a great feature because it makes you want to get off the app. So they've created this infinite scroll where you can just go forever. Like, you could literally go forever and never run out of content because now they're recommending you a bunch of stuff that maybe isn't from your friends. And so that's one of those features that's designed to keep you just engaged as long as possible. The other one is obviously push notifications are just kind of begging for your attention. It's a constant reminder to pull you back in and be like, hey, this person viewed your profile. Hey, this person liked your post. Like, come back, come back, come back. And so the way one of my kind of inspirations, his name is Tristan Harris, I look up to him a lot. The way he talks about it is that tools are something that, like a pen, is waiting to be used. A pen is a tool, right? It's sitting there. If I need it, I can use it. People call social media a tool, but arguably it's not. A tool isn't begging and trying to manipulate and coerce you into using it. It's just sitting there waiting to be used. So this is something that push notifications definitely play a role in. It's kind of like, hey, come back, come back, come back. The last one is gamification. So we see this in games, like addictive games, but as also obviously social media elements like points, badges, likes, even Snapchat streaks. Snapchat streaks only exist as a function to bring you back to the platform every day. And like, I realized that pretty recently. Like, I used to have like a 600-day Snapchat streak with one of my friends, and I was so proud of it. And I'm like, what does that even mean? It's a number and like a little sparkle emoji. Like, what is that? What does that give me, right? What it gives me is they realize that's an awesome way to incentivize you to go to Snapchat every single day. So it's genius, So it's just realizing that every little thing about the apps that we use are designed to addict you. And they don't tell you that. They want to change your behavior incrementally without you noticing. And I personally think that's unethical and a little scary. So the natural consequence of this is social media is driving mental health disorders. There's proof of this. There's a lot of research about this out now. When I actually started this work, I had to tiptoe around this topic a lot because, in 2020, it really wasn't something we talked about that much. It wasn't very common knowledge. And now, there's this study where they showed that people who struggle with anxiety and depression are highly likely to overuse social media. So that means spending over 6 hours a day on it. And people who spend drastic amounts of time, massive amounts of time on social media are more likely to be anxious and depressed. So there's this like negative downward spiral where people use social media and addictive technology to kind of like help cope with their mental health stressors, but then it's actually fueling and making the mental health stressors worse. And this is something that, like I said, I think I really do have a theory is a big part of why our generation has struggled so much with mental health. And one of the last kind of things I've recently figured out as the harm, because like I said before, there's a lot of harms that come with social media usage and the way that it's designed. But I think I'm trying to niche it down a little bit to be able to make an approach around this that really resonates with people. And, there's a lot of companies now working to solve this problem, from legislative people who are trying to pass, regulations to change the way social media companies function at the legal, federal level. There's people who are, doing like phone bans in schools. There's all these different solutions. But I think for me, I realized how big of a role mindfulness really plays in my ability to cope with mental health issues, but also to kind of mitigate the harms of, tech overuse. Because I've realized that we spend so much time just like mindlessly consuming content. Like there's such a large part of our day that we spend just like numbing ourselves. And I think that's important. I think there's obviously a purpose and a place for kind of escaping reality every once in a while. Like when I was in high school, I struggled a lot. And sometimes I played volleyball competitively. And so I practiced like 4 days a week. And sometimes I'd have the worst day ever. And I would go play volleyball and just zone out. And like the world left. Like my thoughts were not about my day or what was going on. I was just like in the game. Like I was in flow state. And that was so nice, We need that. We need that in healthy doses. We need to be able to kind of disconnect, unplug from our day, from the things we're going through. But the extent to which we do this now is really unhealthy. And I'm not saying everyone does it, but I think for the most part, this was an issue with when TV came out, like people were worried about this as well. But we kind of get used to this idea of avoiding difficult emotions. And the example I always bring up is like when you get in an elevator or when you're waiting for your coffee at Starbucks, is your instant reaction always just like, because for me it is. Because when you're in that awkward position, especially in an elevator, it's like oddly quiet. You don't know if you should say hi or talk to the person in the elevator. Like, go on your phone. It gets you out of the situation, right? And again, that pacifier is nice sometimes, but I think we over rely on that. And it's made us unable to cope and sit with those hard emotions and experiences. And that's something that's really important to do, especially, as someone who's experienced a lot of trauma. Avoiding trauma, I've realized, makes it worse. And it pushes it down for the short term, but it doesn't make it go away. It makes it harder to deal with down the line. So the last harm I like to focus on is time, obviously. I asked myself early on, am I wasting my life? Because I felt like I kind of was. I realized my screen time was around 9 hours a day, and about 8 of those hours I was spending on social media. And that didn't sit great with me, so I decided to do a little math. And I added up and figured out how much time I was spending. And it made me really upset. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull out our phones, and we're going to do a little activity, okay? So what we're going to do is go to screen time, or sorry, go to settings. And then there's this purple screen time button right here in settings. Click screen time. Give me a thumbs up once you're there. What? That's insane. Is everyone there? Okay, once you're there, click on see all app and website activity right here. And then you're gonna click week. So make sure you get here, click week so that you can see your daily average of the week.
She didn't have that on.
So you have it.
I didn't have it on.
Oh, you didn't have it on? Oh, did you turn it off or is it automatically off?
Automatically.
Oh, got a new phone. Well, just guesstimate what you think daily you average, how many hours you average. Okay. So is everyone here? Okay. Who wants to tell me their screen time? Expose yourself. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, my daily average is 2 hours and 58 minutes.
Okay, not really bad. Anyone else? Yeah. 10? Okay. All right, y'all. Yeah. Got you. Okay, cool. So we're sitting in the average. So the average of our age group is between 5 to 9 hours a day. That's average screen time. So what we're gonna do a little bit of math, okay? Everyone focus. So take this number, round it up or down, whatever closer. So mine unfortunately is 5 hours. I spent a lot of time FaceTiming people. So not all screen time is built equally, I will say that. We're gonna do some math. So get your number, mine's 5. So whatever the daily average hours is. Plug it into the H and do this equation. Does anyone want to share their number? Yeah,
Yeah, my number is 19.94.
okay, not too bad. You had a low screen time. That's not too bad.
Oh,
The same exact difference.
I'm at 33.
All right,
Like, where'd you get it for?
Oh, I didn't.
that's years multiplied by 12-hour days.
You're like.
Or it's 365 days times.
I didn't divide for a second, so the number's like
Oh.
100,000.
Yeah, that's a little much. Okay, we're gonna refocus. Put your phone away if you can. Keep this number in mind. So, assuming that you are gonna live till about 90 years old, that's might be a little generous, but assuming you're gonna live till 90 and you started using tech around the age of 10, you will spend that number of years of your life doing nothing but this, literally. Think about that. That's insane. For me, before 53 years, that like wrecked me. I was like, how does that even, it doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't seem right, you know? That's insane. Like I said before, screen time is not built equally. If you're spending a majority of this time, you know, doing homework, calling your friends, texting your friends, researching topics you're passionate about, learning, you know, screens are part of our world. That's normal. Keep in mind also, this does not include computer or TV time either. So if you watch YouTube or Netflix on your TV, if you spend all day working on your screen, that number is probably a lot higher. So think about that. Just process that for a second of what that means for you. Even if your screen time is low, like you had like 2 hours, that's still more than 10 years of your life, right? That really bothered me when I first realized it, obviously. And I decided I wanted to spend that time doing other activities because I was like, whoa, that does not feel good. Because I reflected back on my life and I realized like the memories I remember are like going to concerts with my friends, like going on crazy to parties with my friends, going fishing with my dad, like all these things, but I didn't even remember spending that much time on my phone. Like I knew I did, but I don't remember meaningfully what content I was engaging in or like, you know, I was spam tweeting Justin Bieber, but it's like, how am I really gonna throw that time down the drain? Like that didn't feel like it was, I didn't feel like that aligned with my values. So I really started honing in and journaling a lot on like, what kind of things do I want to spend it on? This is like a very, like, not the best slide, but like some of the things I started doing was just like drawing, spending a lot more time with my friends, got into like drinking tea, doing yoga, going outside, hiking. That was in Switzerland last year. It was so fun. I like broke my ankle, so that was really bad. But hiking, even with a broken ankle, like you just gotta, I was just like, I want to experience life. I want to look back on my life and not regret it. Like I want to look back on life and feel so happy with the way I spent my time, especially as a young person. Like we talk to any older person in your life and they will tell you they want to go back to where you're at right now. Like they cherish the years that we have right now. And we're the generation that's spending the most of that time throwing it away. And that just like doesn't sit right. So I think another kind of model that I use to determine if I or if someone else is struggling with social media usage is this framework. I actually found this on a YouTube video, funny enough, and I thought it was really awesome because of how concise it was. But it's the 3 C's. So I'm just gonna have you guys kind of reflect independently. I'm not gonna, we're slightly running out of time, so I'm not gonna like really give you time for it, but definitely write it down if you want. But the 3 C's kind of examine if you have a problematic relationship with technology. So the first one is control. So I just asked myself, do I feel like I have an inability to control my decisions or my consumption of tech? Like when I wake up in the morning, do I feel this pull to just check my phone right away? Or like when I'm watching TV, do I still feel like I need to scroll at the same time? Or, you know, is there this just lack of control of the autonomy you have over your device? The next question is compulsion. Are you that's kind of similar, but like, are you regularly reaching for your phone without even thinking about it and it feels normal to you? And the last one is consequences. Have you noticed any consequences as a result of the amount of time you're spending online? Maybe your friends and family or your boyfriend is like, hey, like, can you just get off your phone? Like, spend less time on it. Like, please pay attention to me. Or have you noticed new mental health stressors come up? Have you noticed you aren't sleeping very well or your eyeballs hurt because you're staring at blue light at midnight when you should be going to sleep? Are there any consequences you're noticing? If not, that's awesome. Not everyone struggles with this, but it's something that, again, is very pervasive among our age group and can be harmful. So if you resonate with any of these, it might be worth examining your relationship with your phone and trying to take steps to make it a little healthier. So this all kind of falls into the belief system for me that awareness equals healing. This is something that we talk about in therapy a lot as well, but just being aware is already a large step towards healing. And that's something I like to bring to the people I talk to, because I work in schools a lot, and I'm not, expecting every person in the room to take action or change their tech habits. But at the bare minimum, I want them to be aware and understand how the business model of social media functions to addict you, and understanding how that might affect your mental health and how that might affect your livelihood and your happiness. And that's something that's just crucial, because down the line, you might not change anything now, but down the line, you might remember this presentation. You might realize someone else in your life is struggling with it and be able to help them with it. And my goal is just to equip people with that base level of awareness, but also empower them to make change. So the way I like to help people make change is through forming what I like to call tech life balance. We've all heard the term work-life balance, very important. But tech life balance is something that just kind of encaptures this idea of the tech side of life, so the amount of time you're spending on your phone, your computer, TV, and the life side, which is all the activities you enjoy doing, all the people you love seeing, the parts of reality that, bring you pleasure. But also the realness of life, the things you might struggle with, the things that might be something that, comes up often. And just finding a balance between these two things to be able to flourish and thrive. And so our approach that I created at NOSO, we're going to share I'm sharing a little more now, finally, about our actual company and what we do. But our 3-prong approach to this is based in ABC framework, which stands for awareness, behavior change, and community. So I've created an educational program. I've created a detox movement, a social media detox movement, and community building mindfulness events for participants. So this kind of 3-prong approach is my way of addressing all of the issues I've talked about throughout this whole presentation. And I'll share more about each of those prongs in a second. But all of these are rooted in this idea of tech detoxing. So it's really foundational that there was a study where they took 3,000 adults who were self-proclaimed Facebook addicts, and they had them delete Facebook for a 1-month period. And they measured significant improvements in emotional well-being, mental health. They saw improvements in happiness, decreases in loneliness, and decreases in political polarization. And so all of this shows and proves that a 1-month break creates long-term support and improvements in mental health, which, again, that's the goal of what we would try to do. So that's really foundational to the work that we do. So when going into these 3 prongs, I want to share a little more detail. The month-long detox is a movement that I created in 2020 called the No Social Media November Challenge. And so it is in every continent on the globe. People around the world every November take a 1-month break from social media in an effort to promote social relationships that are more authentic, to implement healthier habits and routines, and really just examine your relationships tech. It's easy to think about, how you feel about your relationship. Oh my gosh, sorry. Your relationship to your phone right now, but it is so illuminating when you don't have access to the platforms. Like when you're sitting there and you have to just be in the moment and you don't have any overstimulating content you can turn to, you learn a lot about yourself and a lot about the ways that you use social media. So this is really the goal, is to create and deepen that self-awareness for people. And it's called No Social Media November, but it can be a lot of things. I consider YouTube and Netflix to be social media. A lot of people also struggle with video games that can be addictive. And so whatever it might be, any online platform that's designed to pull you in and keep you addicted can be something that you could try to take a detox from, to try to see what it's like to just have a month-long reprieve from these issues. And so I acknowledge that not everyone can commit or wants to commit to an entire month. So we have multiple ways of participating. All in, the best way, delete all social media for a full month. That is the most transformational, impactful way to participate in this, obviously. But another option is to do a short detox. You could do 1 day a week for a full month. You could do 4 days straight. You could do 1 week. You could do a 2-week detox. Whatever it is, just going cold turkey for a period of time is really positive for, again, developing that self-awareness and also seeing, what kind of things you can put that time towards. You'll start to feel like you're not as busy anymore, and all of that new free time that you have, you can dedicate towards other activities. The last one's work in progress. We have a lot of different tips and tools to kind of create a healthy relationship with your phone. This involves things like maybe turning off notifications, unfollowing accounts that make you feel bad about yourself, turning grayscale on your phone, like creating a bedtime thing on your phone. Like there's a lot of different ways you can tweak your phone to try to make it a little bit better for you. So that's also an option. Now, sorry. Now going to the school program. So this is kind of our main focus, I would say, at NOSO. We've created this kind of digital literacy program where we work with middle schools, high schools, and colleges to educate teens about the harmful addictive design of social media and what it can do to mental health. And then we provide them with personalized tools to create that healthy relationship with tech. And this is still centered around the idea of a detox. We try to kind of create this movement within the school at large to have the community come together and say, you know what, we're going to try to detox together. We're going to host events around it. We're going to promote it. We're going to promote mental health during this month of November or whatever month. We've now, so it used to just be November. Obviously, that's not very scalable. We've actually expanded it now to every month of the school year. So we're kind of going all over the country now, every month, which is really cool. But the real power in this is that it's a youth-led initiative. And this is one of those issues where young people really do have expertise. Like, adults did not grow up with social media. They did not grow up and go through developmental phases with the understanding of what it's like to have social media platforms influencing your social life, your identity, any of that kind of thing. So having young people come out, we actually train, I'm the main guest speaker. I usually am the one that schools, but we're now scaling. So we're training other guest speakers who are in college to go out to the schools and speak and share their story. You know, I always share my mental health journey. We like people to share that to kind of give that level of authenticity and connection to the audience. And then, you know, educate students about this issue and give them those tools that they need. So this is really exciting. We've been in over 25 states and we're now expanding into Canada and Switzerland as well, and maybe Malaysia, which is really exciting. So it's growing a lot. Thank you. The last prong that we focus on is mindfulness-based events. This is personally my favorite one because it's just, I kind of just get to do activities that I love doing with other people that love doing it. And it's just like a love fest. Like, it's just so fun. But mostly this is in Colorado right now. We are trying to expand it. We're doing some in Canada this summer, but the goal of our mindfulness-based events is to promote this community support system. Like I've said before, social media is intended to socially connect us, but a lot of times it can leave us with shallow relationships and not as much in-person engagement time. There's actually a lot of research being shown that we're not spending nearly as much time in person together as people in other generations did when they were our age. So it's this place to kind of connect without our phones being a problem and be introduced to activities or coping tools that they can go home and use themselves. So we do a lot of fun activities where, again, comfort zone is kind of a theme. We want people to try things they've never done before. So I'm a personal huge fan of cold plunges and Wim Hof breathing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but we've guided teens through Wim Hof breathing and they're like, what is this? This is so fucking stupid. Like, I'm like, just try it. Like, you don't have to, but just try it. And then they're like, whoa, like, and then they're like, can you send me that video? I want to do it when I get home. Like, I want to show my mom. Like, it's awesome to help foster this place for people to move out of their comfort zone together in a supportive, safe community and try things that they can use as free tools when they go home. Because for me, when I struggle with mental health a lot, it was something that, like, I realized when I'm using unhealthy coping mechanisms, it made it worse, obviously. But if I could turn to things like taking a bath, doing meditation, journaling, I felt so much better afterwards. So I want to give the community those kinds of resources. We also do yoga, we do nature walks. Anything can really be a mindfulness activity as long as you're being mindful during it. So we just kind of like to do those vibey things together. We've done yerba mate rituals and like tea ceremonies, which has been really awesome. So yeah, this is something that's really great to be able to promote that idea of mindfulness. We have a video of this. We are running out of time. I have like 7 more slides. Should we play it? Okay, cool. This is a like 2-minute video showcasing one of our mindfulness events we had recently in Boulder. It was so fun. Also, it's there's a few participant interviews sharing what kinds of activities they're anticipating doing during the detox, just to give you an idea of like the impact that we have on students. The audio should be working, I think. Yeah.
So with NOSO, it kind of came at a time where I was definitely questioning a lot in life. I was definitely at a weird point, and I kind of just took the leap of faith and completely rid myself of all social media, and I just tried to live more consciously through how I was interacting with people.
I mean, in college, I actually deleted most social media apps, so I haven't been so on social media apps for a while, but honestly, like, they're so addictive that I still like go on my browser to go on Instagram. And then there's other things about phones that are addictive, you know, the way that your phone is pulls you in. And, you know, I want to create some mindfulness around that. And Maddie was talking about how, you know, your brain gets wired to just go click on that button without thinking.
Ultimately, I found that it was a lot more detrimental than it was beneficial. No-so is definitely very beneficial for helping you realize what your relationships to these platforms are and how you may be using them in a way that you don't really know. Like you don't really know that you're pulling out your phone to kind of avoid a certain topic or situation. And so by kind of taking the leap of faith and kind of by deleting these platforms, it's a really good way to kind of expose those things in life that might be just holding you back.
I'm mostly like excited. I want to see if I can try dedicating November as like a time for myself and growth with this detox to like improving my headspace about like a lot of things and like learning to like love myself again.
I expect to regain hours of my day. I expect to feel far more mindful and connected with myself. I expect to build my real relationships.
The things that have brought me towards detoxes, towards well-being, towards becoming a more fulfilled version of myself have never been the big powerful things. They've always been the one-on-one community relationships that I have. And so I'm really excited in the ways that that'll personally affect me positively and my community.
It's great to have be a part of something bigger, and it's a good cause. I love it.
Yeah. We had an awesome youth filmmaker edit this video. He like made these graphics. He's like 19. I was so impressed. It was awesome. We try to do youth everything. Youth doing all the parts of our company. It's awesome. Cool. Thank you for watching that. Like I said, near and dear to my heart. A lot of those people are my friends, so it's really cool to like bring them together, but also just community members and people I've never met before coming to experience mindfulness together and have discussions about their tech use. Like it's really cool. So to wrap up, my final kind of part of this presentation is just sharing our impact. This is obviously, as a nonprofit company, the most important part. It's not profit, it's impact. It's what we want to leave people with. So we always do pre and post detox surveys, and we found this data cumulatively over the last 5 years. So average reduction in screen time is 39%. So this is taking someone from 8 hours a day to 5 hours a day. It's a pretty drastic change. 43% of people report practicing daily balanced habits. So they've formed routines that have lasted throughout past the detox. 83% actually say their social life improved. One of the biggest worries of going into this challenge is that people are going to feel isolated. Like I've mentioned before, people tend to kind of invest more in authentic connections with people. And some of those other maybe surface level fake friendships kind of fall off the edge a little bit. The best one, obviously our goal is to improve mental health. 88.9% of participants say that as a direct result of the detox, their mental health improved significantly. So this is awesome. Lastly, 66% of participants extend their detox more than a month. So they commit to a month and then they end up doing it at least another month or another month. Some people have bought flip phones. Some people have permanently deleted their accounts. Like we've created some huge change, even in people who are really hesitant to do it, which is awesome. This last year, we actually did a little more in-depth impact measurement. So we found some more specific kind of screen time data, usually cut down a little more than half, actually 50%. So bringing people from about 5 hours a day down to about 2.5 hours a day, which is awesome. And then another one is we measured people that struggled with severe levels of depression. So these people had like 20% of our participants reported having high levels of depression. So like unmanageable depression. And we brought that down to 6%, which is insane. That one action, deleting social media for 1 month can be the catalyst for that. And that's, I think, amazing and something we want to continue doing and improving on. These are just some photos from the year. This is Andre. He's my teammate. He's the first person I hired. I love him so much. He helps me so much. And we flew him out to do some lobbying on the Hill in DC to pass a online safety act bill. We do some legislative work here and there. I actually testified in the House Judiciary Committee last month to promote whistleblower protections for an AI bill. So we do some tech legislation work. This is one of our new interns, Saul. We presented at CU Boulder. That was from our mindfulness event. You saw that picture earlier, but that was a mindfulness event as well. I was in Boston a few weeks ago presenting at a conference, and then this is me actually at the original high school that we piloted NOSO in. We've worked with them 5 years in a row, which is so awesome because we get to see the new students come in every year, which is great. And then for some validation, we've had awesome traction, especially this last year. It's grown so much. You know, this was a venture that I started freshman year of college and grew as a solo founder for 4 years. And now that I graduated from college last May, it's my full-time job and I've been able to fully dedicate all my time to it. And it is the most rewarding thing in the world. I definitely am slightly a workaholic, so it's not all beauty, but it's definitely been rewarding. I think the biggest accomplishment thus far was the Forbes 30 under 30 list last year. It was a really exciting accomplishment. That was a life goal of mine, and I thought I'd maybe get it when I was 28 or 29 or something. So it came a little early, and I was really happy about that. I'm 23, by the way, so I'm a little younger. But another really exciting piece of news: we just won our first big grant. So a lot of funding just came in. So I can finally pay myself and I can pay my team and I can hire people. So we actually have been doing our hiring interviews this week. We're hiring a financial director and a program manager for the school program. And it's just really exciting. And I'm actually going to San Francisco directly after this for the retreat for that grant program. So really excited about that. Some other things that happened a little earlier in the journey, I did those pitch competitions. Like I said, I ended up winning funding through those twice. That was 2021 and 2022. I've been on the news a few times for this, and then I won a Young Innovators in Behavioral Health Award for this work. So it feels really good to kind of put your heart and your all into something and then to get kind of rewarded for it. You know, obviously these accolades mean a lot to me, but at the end of the day, what means the most to me and that I value the most is the actual testimonials and feedback we get from our participants. Like that is I always imagine NOSO or me as like a car, and the fuel that I put in that car is this. That is what it is. Like the accomplishments are dope, but like this is what gets me up in the morning and makes me go to work. Like hearing what people tell us, you know, there's better testimonials. There's probably should have put better ones, but people just share with us how much this challenge has impacted them. And it sounds so simple. It's just taking a month break, but it's like what you gain in that month lasts lifetimes. And that's really the goal, is to create long-term impact. Like we hear people starting all these different new hobbies. They feel more productive. They feel more social. People have long-term better relationships with social media, even just from taking a month-long break. People continue keeping notifications off. They don't scroll anymore. Like I said, a lot of people permanently delete their social media accounts, which isn't necessarily the goal, but in whatever way it works for you, finding that healthy relationship is really powerful. So to wrap up, my call to action is we're just going to reflect on our own experience with social media and try to kind of create some positive habits around it and see if any of you guys want to commit to trying a challenge. So that's what the workshop's going to be. So we'll, for now, take a moment, take a break. If you guys want, we are like hiring, growing. We're always looking for volunteers. We're looking for people to like, you know, help support our work, maybe like bring it to other schools, maybe promote the movement, whatever, come to our events. So if anyone's interested, you can just go to our website. You can contact me. You can add me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you guys. But thank you so much. I'm excited to do the workshop with you, but I really appreciate you sitting through this long presentation so we can get up stretched now, but thank you guys.
Thank you, Maddie. We'll definitely have time for Q&A after the workshop, but it's 11:03. Can we come back at 11:08 for a start at 11:10? Thank you.
Yes, we're actually
Awesome, guys. One house. We'll get started with the activity. Okay.
Yay. Okay. So you guys are about to experience, I'm not on social media, I promise. One of the things we love doing, one of the mindfulness activities we love doing. So we're just going to take a minute. I know that was a long presentation. Your mind probably has all these thoughts about your own experiences and what I talked about, all this crap. So we're going to do a 5-minute meditation, kind of ground and recenter and just take a second. I love meditating so much. Maybe you guys don't. Maybe you've never done it before. Maybe there's judgments there. And so kind of curious, like who has meditated before / meditates regularly? Okay, love it. That's the cool thing, is like it's become so much more common and accessible, and I love that it's something people practice more. It's really awesome because Colorado, we were kind of talking, the culture in Colorado is so like hippie, like everyone's like, oh, like cold blood meditation, like whatever. So I'm so used to that. But when I come to other places, sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's actually a thing that other people do. So I'm glad to see that some of you practice this. If not, acknowledge any judgments that might come up or any fears or any like, I don't know if I can do it right. All of that's normal. There really is no way to meditate right. The only way is to just be in the moment and accept anything that comes up. what I like to say is treat the thoughts as like clouds passing. You can acknowledge the thought when it comes up, and as soon as you notice that you're having a thought, like, hi thought, let it pass in the sky and recenter back into your breath. The practice of meditation is not having no thoughts. The practice of meditation is noticing your thinking and then bringing it back to the breath. That exact moment of bringing it back to the breath is what meditation is. And over time, that improves to the point where you'll naturally not have as many thoughts. But for now, it's just remembering that you are succeeding if you notice your thinking and you come back to the breath. So that's all I want you to know. So I have this app. It's amazing. If you've ever done meditation before, I would highly suggest Insight Timer. I don't personally love guided meditations because I like the silence a lot more. But they have like thousands of guided meditations and also just a meditation bell and a meditation timer. So it's an awesome app. Not sponsored, not mad. But so what we're gonna do is it's just gonna be 5 minutes, so nothing crazy. So we're going to set a 5-minute timer. And so what we're gonna do is close our eyes. I'm gonna set off 3 bells. We're gonna breathe for 5 minutes. I'll guide you through it lightly so you won't be kind of left in silence. But once the bells ring again, we'll come back, open our eyes. So for now, if you feel comfortable, get relaxed, kind of make sure you feel comfy in your chair. Sometimes it feels good to ground both your feet on the floor, feel connected to the ground. And we're gonna get started. We're just gonna start taking about 5 deep intentional breaths through the nose and out the mouth. Do this on any cadence that works for you. Just really feel what it feels like to fill your belly and your lungs up with air. What it feels like to let it go. Try to kind of observe the breath and see if it's short or long, if it feels hollow or stable. If it's more concentrated in your lungs or your stomach, just kind of observe it with a sense of curiosity. After those 5 breaths, kind of just let it return to its normal cadence. And just check in with your body. Check what emotions or physical sensations you might be noticing. Where your feet and your legs, up through your stomach and your chest, all the way up to your shoulders, neck, and crown of your head. If any of these feelings or physical sensations are negative, try to just observe them without judgment. Allow them to be there. If you get this feeling, just remember to continue to focus back on your breath. You find it easy to focus on the very tip of the nose where you feel the air coming in and out, or on the center of your diaphragm that expands and contracts every time you breathe. For the next 2 minutes, just try to hone in, allow the thoughts to pass like clouds, and just center back in your breath every time. You notice your mind attaching to anything, any stress or plans you have later in the day. Just kindly accept it and return back to that point in your breath. So that you are not the thoughts, you are the awareness that's observing them. To notice how any of those feelings or physical sensations have maybe changed in the last few minutes. Again, with a sense of acceptance. On your own time. You slowly start to open your eyes. Wiggle your toes, your fingers. Little stretch. Thank you for joining me in that. Honestly, nice for me, selfishly. I love doing that. How does that feel? Does it feel, do you feel different now than you did 5 minutes ago? Yeah. Does anyone want to share like something that changed or something they noticed? Yeah.
I feel more relaxed. I was very stressed, like thinking about today, like do, and just doing that, like really calm myself. Okay, down, all right, slow, hearing out your present.
Yes, I love it. I'm so glad. I think the beauty of meditation is that was 5 minutes. Like, if you felt positive impacts from that, like think of that. Like that's free. That's accessible. You can do it I was just standing doing it. Like you can do it at any moment of any day, whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, whenever you're feeling stressed. You can even just do 2 minutes. You know, I'm someone who's always just like use the excuse, I'm busy, I'm too busy. But you're never too busy to spend 5 minutes doing something like that. And if it resonated with you, I'm hopeful that you can try it again. You know, meditation benefits you the more and more you do it, just like anything else, like exercise. And it's beautiful. I'm really grateful for you guys joining me in that, and just gives a taste of, you know, some of the activities we like to do to promote being more aware of your body and your mind and your thoughts, and spending time in community doing an activity that can bring you closer to yourself. So I'm grateful for you guys. Now for our workshop, I have 2 worksheets I'm going to pass out. One is for us, so it's kind of a survey, not really, but more so just like feedback. I just would love to like, you know, get feedback, I guess, on how you felt today, on the topic, on, you know, our presentation. I say our because I'm used to saying that about other companies, sorry, my presentation. The other one is for you. It's a worksheet to examine your own social media use. So this is something you're gonna take home with you, and it's something that can help support you to form a healthy relationship if you want to. But it's also a reflection tool. So in the theme of being mindful and aware of some of the experiences you're having, I wanted to create an activity that could kind of help, you know, promote digital well-being for your own life, so you can hopefully leave today with actionable steps to improve it. So I'll pass out some pens if need be. I'll just start with this. And then, yeah, so take about 10-15 minutes, and then after that, we'll do a Q&A discussion. If anyone wants to share about their worksheet after they do it, let me know. But yeah, thank you. I might do it too, actually. No, you're fine.
So at the end, you should have 2 sheets, guys, workshop and survey, so both are coming on.
Like 1 hour. Oh.
Oh, your clothes are best.
That's my Simba. I'm like, what? What a word. Also have fancy handwriting.
You're special guys.
Wow. You need help with that? Oh.
He's more better.
Yeah.
Wow. Like.
I'll give it.
Thank you. Ozzy, it does. Oh. Playing soccer. Para poder.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to do?
Yeah, you're supposed to have 2 sheets, just so everyone knows. I'll take one. Thank you. Thank you so much.
From. But what? Oh.
And just keep in mind the workshop activity is for you to keep, so be as honest as you can. And then the survey is for us, so also be as honest as you can, but we're gonna be reading it, just, you know.
Just crazy. Funny.
Yeah, and consequences. Yes, thank you. I love that you wrote down.
Read. Heard. How did I do that? What's your meaning? Is that right? So like, there's no fun, and then it like. Ow. It's my.
Your passion.
Leave it. A full mark.
I love those.
This one?
I would have never.
No.
No, for mine, I just said one sided.
Okay. That's pretty good. That's just the person that popped up my
I love this.
What was it?
Double edged.
Oh, and you said one side of it. Kind of similar. Like opposite almost. I like very
I have a
opposite.
question.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
remember the like calculation? For the
Yeah, do you want me to go back to it?
If you could.
Totally. Yeah, send it to your
Because it didn't
friends.
save.
Tell them to do it too.
Thank you.
Of course. There we go.
I think that's mine. That's what I.
Thank you.
No, for 9, wait, 9 years? Doesn't make sense.
It's because 12-hour days. So if you're spending 12 hours
Ah.
a day, then that's a day. You know, so that's literally the entire time. Because you're gonna sleep, you know.
Oh, that's fun. I gotta, that's what this is about 4. I always say. I'm here, but I'm sorry if you're logging in.
Or like.
Well, it's been a problem. What are you doing? So I had to stay with me, you know, because there's lots of-
Hello, Elle. Don't look at that.
I don't know, I saw this.
This is
This part. The create. I was gonna put wake up and like vacuum. But I think wake up it is.
Realize you have so many. Yes, I keep them.
All right, we'll give it like 3 to 5 more minutes. So we'll try to wrap up.
What's the word that not like you? What's that? Something. You want me to put like a service or of it?
That'd be great. Yes, thank you.
Whenever you guys are done with the survey part, just raise your hand and I'll just confirm. I would just.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like where was I? It was this conference called the Massachusetts Partnership for Youth. It was at some like technical school in like, oh, I'm really bad at geography. It wasn't like actually just an hour out of Boston, so it wasn't even in like the city. But are you from there?
Yeah, I live like 45 outside of the city.
Oh, cool. I'm trying to think. It was like, I can't remember the town. It was like a pretty small town.
The tech school?
It was like a technical school, I think. I don't know. It was like hosted at a technical school, but it was a conference for educators.
It wasn't in Framingham, was it?
No, here, I'm gonna find the town following me.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, this is mine. Just saying. Yeah, political. Oh, and yeah.
My name's
Oh, I'm trying to remember, but she looked the times of her.
Yeah.
It was southeastern.
Southeast.
Are you familiar?
Somewhere down.
That is, it's out there.
Bridgewater.
Oh, you're in Bridgewater, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, around that.
Went to school pretty close there.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Yeah, I literally did not get to see any of it. It was actually really stressful. I literally got there the night before, woke up at like 6 a.m. to do the conference and then left the next day. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, it was in like January. So, yeah. I want to go back because I've never been to like the city at all.
Also in the summer, it's really good.
I've heard it's really cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go back for sure someday, but I learned my lesson. Now I try to extend my trips a little longer than that because I want to see the city I'm in. So.
Everyone's done with the survey? Yeah.
Sorry. It's not. It's just like.
Oh, it's that color. The screen, yeah, like, I'll be showing stuff, like getting feedback on projects.
And it's like.
People like touch my screen, I'm like.
Ew, that's the word.
It's like clean it. What, it's not a touch screen, right? Yeah, totally.
You use like those alcohol wipes?
I use this like spray with microfiber, or they had like screens.
Okay.
I think they were like alcohol wipes.
I need to get that. I used to have those alcohol wipes and then like a little.
Yeah.
You can.
All right, is everyone done? Does anyone need like one more minute? Are we good? Got all the surveys for the most part. Oh, yeah. Does anyone want to share their workshop? Like what insights they had or? Yeah, you can stand up if you want.
Hi, my name is Urias, and what I want to do is two things. I want to put like limits for my ads and just use them, use social media at night, at least for the beginning,
Mhm.
and try to use them less and try to do other things, maybe reading or other things at that time. And also in the awkward positions that you talked about, I don't take out my phone and just try to be present.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing. Really quick. Yeah, sounds great. Really quick life hack. I set screen time limits for myself like 5 years ago, and it just like I'm so addicted, so I just bypass it with my password every time. I found a life hack. Me and Eddie here, he's one of my closest friends. He came all the way from Colorado. He was on a flight overnight and just landed at like 6 a.m. So what a funny. But he and I put in passwords on each other's screen time limits that neither of us know. So I physically cannot bypass my screen time limit. So when an hour comes up on YouTube, I'm like, God damn it. And I can't bypass it. Like I just have to put it down. And that has worked wonders for me. So thank you for doing that for me. Make sure you trust the person, obviously, and like they'll remember the password. But that's a good life hack if you want to be really serious about screen time limits. Anyway, who else wants to? Yeah.
So after counting the years,
Sorry,
okay.
just so everyone can see you.
After counting the years, I realized that it's not something I want to put myself through. It's literally abuse of yourself, of your lifetime. And as we were speaking, I deleted my apps. I just want, I don't want to put myself through this. I don't want to waste my life like this. I want to set myself free.
All right, I'm proud of you. Thank you for sharing that. We got people taking action in here. Maybe one more, and then yeah.
I saw the amount of years that I'm spending on my phone, and as of lately, I had a friend help me with setting screen time on my phone. I used to just sit there aimlessly scrolling on TikTok, Instagram Reels, or was no matter where I was, like in class, at the gym, and whatever. So ever since then, I've had those limits. It's gotten to a point now where I have deleted TikTok. I don't even need to bother to live on Instagram because I don't even spend that much time on it. I'm slowly working to get all my other apps and it's down to more productive.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that. I think the cool thing about working with like college age students is a lot of you guys are already aware of this. Like obviously you probably have thought about this before, and a lot of times I hear people share that they've already created kind of boundaries with themselves around it. I'd love to hear that you've kind of taken action in your own hands. If you haven't, there's always time, and I'm really glad to hear that like this is something that is improving overall. So I'm really happy to hear it. Out of curiosity, is anyone gonna try a detox like in the next month or so? Yay! Love it. Please, like, I know it might seem weird, but like, message me on LinkedIn, email me if you like want to share how it's going, if you need support, if you want to talk about it, like, I'm here. I'd love to hear how it's going for you. Awesome. So now we have about 20 minutes. So I am an open book. Please don't feel like you're intruding. You can ask me anything about my personal life, about my company, about anything at all. So please, like, feel free to just open the floor. And I'd love to answer your questions. Yeah.
So you mentioned like a lot of people did detox. Once they do the detox, do they like go back on social media or no?
Good question. It varies a lot. Like obviously everyone uses social media in different ways, and the detox impacts them in different ways. They create different long-term goals. It's really kind of a mixed bag. Like I said in the presentation, we do hear a lot about people realizing how nice it feels to be off for the month, that they decide to permanently delete their accounts, not just the apps, but their accounts. I actually was really inspired. My friend Aaron, he was like one of those chronic social media users, like 12 hours a day kind of beat. And he would do photo shoots every week and post them on Instagram. Like he wanted to be like an influencer and like just cared so much about how people viewed him. And he did the detox for the first time last year because he was too scared to the years before because he just loves social media. And he literally at the end of the month deleted his account and has not gone back on. And I was so inspired by that because he's like, he loved it, but he just realized how powerful it was to, be off of it. And obviously, okay, I'm promoting like the positives about it a lot. It's not always the most perfect, amazing thing. Like some people struggle a lot with it. Some people don't like it that much. Like they're like, you know what, social media does serve a purpose in my life. And, I want to find a balance with it. I want to use it in a healthy way. So a lot of people do end up re-downloading it, but maybe they realize X is toxic. I don't want to be on that. TikTok's toxic, but I'm gonna use Instagram and I'm gonna use Snapchat. Like it really is a personalized thing, and you need to be really aware and in tune with yourself to figure out like what actually works for you. But yeah, some people, like I said, get flip phones. Some people literally just like get rid of their phone. I don't know how that works, but it's cool to see like the varying experiences. I think I was kind of telling you earlier, like people will use detoxes as something that's more accessible down the road. So if you do the detox and you feel really good, maybe a few months later you start to feel unbalanced again, and it's accessible, it's possible, you can do it. So you try it again. And it's something that's kind of like in your toolbox down the road. So yeah, there's a lot of varied experiences for sure. Yeah.
What are your thoughts when TikTok got banned? I don't know if you heard about it. You heard about it, right? Like, how did you feel about that?
Yeah.
Like, are you on the right side or left? Like, us and like, would you want it to be gone, or would you want it to stay?
Yeah. Great question. Yeah, there's a lot of variables there. The funny thing is like they did not, as much as I wish they banned it because it's bad for mental health and like impacting people negatively, that's not. It was a political reason, obviously. I do think that the reasons they banned it, like, kind of do make sense to me, I guess, but I think the incentives are a little funky. I'm a big TikTok hater. Personally, after a lot of research and lived experience, like, I would say TikTok is the most toxic platform because it is the most addictive. They have cracked the code on how to keep you scrolling. Like, they know what to show you on your For You page. And I often hear people are like, that's my fix. Like, that's the one I can't get off. So personally, I'm a hater for sure. But I think, I don't know. It's a hard one. I would say, like, probably because of that position, I would say I think we're all better off without it. However, that just puts more power and money in the hands of Mark Zuckerberg, who I'm not a fan of. So it's a little hard. We're all probably going to just go over to Instagram or go on Reels or go on Shorts. And so it doesn't really solve the issue. And the other thing is, like, they're probably going to end up selling it to an American bidder, and it's probably going to be here anyway. So it's just, yeah, it's a little complicated. I would rather the government focus on legislating and creating rules and regulations for social media companies to promote online safety and, like, put guardrails up so that they're not harming users. But at the end of the day, they really, at this point, only really care about, international interference and, like, money and stuff like that. So it's kind of misaligned incentives, I guess. But I would say, like, it's probably a net good for society. But the last thing I'll say is I think it probably does strip a lot of people from something that they care about. I think a lot of people find community on TikTok. A lot of people have their whole job is TikTok, like influencers. So there's always negatives to every side of the story. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I think you have a question? Yeah.
As something that I can relate to that you mentioned, was losing friends to suicide. I lost my best friend to suicide. It was about 4 years ago. And it's sad because I found out just after I graduated. And I was planning on going to see him, and then that's when I found out. What was one way that you coped through that? Like, for me, I tried a bunch of different things, but they all, like, reminded me of him. It was kind of hard to cope, What was one thing you did to cope with that?
Yeah. First of all, I'm so sorry and thank you for sharing. I feel like everyone who's gone through that has, like, a soul connection because it's so hard to go through, and it's such a long process to not even get over, but just, it just becomes a facet of your life and really hard. So thank you for sharing. Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I went through it a lot of times, so it was different every time, and it happened over the span of, like, 5 years. But it sounds dumb, but, like, the main thing I focused on in therapy was figuring out my healthy coping mechanisms. So I talk about that a lot, just because I was like, to, like, not to, like, out myself, but, like, I was smoking weed a lot. I was drinking, like, I was turning to unhealthy vices because I didn't know what else to do and I was depressed. And once I started not turning to those things and turning to, like, a big one for me is baths, which sounds so weird, but, like, for some reason water is very healing to me. I've always loved the ocean a lot. You guys have that here, luckily. But literally I would just get so depressed at night. I would cry all night about the person I lost. And I would run a bath and I would make it special. I put candles, like bath salts. I'd get fancy bath bombs from Lush. And I know this is kind of girly, so maybe you can't relate to this, but I do face masks, I do hair masks, and just, like, the act of self-care and, like, just laying water and crying just, like, felt soothing to me. It kind of just, like, healed my heart. And I did that, like, every night for a really long time. And interestingly enough, like, in college, I didn't really have baths because most of the houses were crappy and just had showers, and I realized that's been missing from my life. So something I want to, like, get back into. But I think other than that, like, community support was a big one. Like, obviously, if you lost a friend, I'm sure a lot of your friends knew that person too. And so being able to talk about it was huge for me. Something that's really hard, as I'm sure you've experienced, is as time goes on, you gotta stop talking about that person. And it's hard because you think about them every day, right? Like, I think about these people every day. There's 10 death anniversaries I have to deal with every year. So, like, it's never gonna leave, it's never gonna go away. And so I found it really healing to, like, talk to people who knew that person. I actually just recently connected with someone I haven't talked to since high school who was really close with my friend Ben. And we actually talked on the phone about it the other day. It made me so emotional, just, like, knowing we both had the lived experience of knowing the magic that was Ben, right? And so that's a big one, is just keeping their memory alive by reminiscing on memories and talking about it. I think is really healing. And I'm just not the kind of person that avoids things. I think it's better to, you don't have to talk about it all the time, but I think it's better to, like, really sit with the pain and feel it. So yeah, I'm sorry that that's happened for you, but those, I think, would be, for me, the two things that probably help me the most, for sure. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hi. So you were a business major,
Mhm.
yet you're leading mental health impact projects. So how do you manage them?
Yeah. it was an interesting journey. I mean, I'm not gonna rant because I could, but I'm not going to. But it's been a really interesting journey of like going from being very money hungry and like driven to, I was gonna be a salesperson. I went to all these sales competitions and like won them, and I was like, I'm gonna make like 200K out the gate. Like I was, that was my plan. And I realized junior year of college, I was like, ooh, that does not fill me up, and like I don't like the culture of that. I don't like I at the sales competitions, I didn't feel like I really liked the people I was around there. Not to hate on it, business is amazing and like I learned so much in my major, but I just think for my career trajectory, I was like, I need to wake up every morning and feel passionate about something I'm doing. And that just didn't feel like sales. And I kind of viewed it as this road of I'm gonna pick money or happiness. And I chose happiness. And the coolest thing is that like the money follows. Thank you. I realized that like money follows. Like I fully just like was like, I'm doing no so it might fail. It's really scary because like it's my company and like if it fails, I'm screwed kind of. But like I had the faith in myself and in the cause and in the impact that we had with no money behind it. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And I've been rewarded for it. Like it's been amazing. I've reached every goal in terms of getting funding for it, which has like been really pain in the butt, but like really rewarding process. Yeah, I think for me, like the cool thing is as a business major, specifically entrepreneurship major, I got a lot of training around building a company from the ground up. And a nonprofit has a different incentive structure, but at the end of the day, it's still a company. It's a business. It's the same. Really, like you have to think about how you're going to train and onboard a team. You have to think about your revenue sources. You have to think about marketing. You have to think about sales. I get to do sales, which is so fun because I'm doing it to schools and it's something I'm passionate about and I'm so good at it. So it's like I didn't have to give up sales. I still do that. So kind of realizing that the nonprofit world is a lot more similar to for profit than you would think, I think is really cool for me. But you asked me like how I balance it. Did you mean in terms of like my time during school or like did that answer?
That did answer some of the questions. My main question is, you're a business major, you're
Mhm.
not a psychology major.
Mhm.
So how do you convince the schools that you're the right person for them?
Yeah, that's such a good question. That's funny because I didn't think about that much before, and I've recently been thinking about it. Schools have no concern for some reason over that question, which is really interesting. Like they trust me because I'm a young person, and I think the interesting thing is like with anything in business, if you have credibility or partners or experience or impact metrics to prove that your work works, they're not really going to question your qualifications. And that's why like I'm not going to grad school. Like I don't feel the need to do that because like I know that what I've done so far is enough for me to prove that I know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. I think lucky for me, it's very niche, but this specific industry of digital well-being, you are an expert because you are a young person who grew up on social media. Like that's the phrase that we use in this industry a lot because you don't have to have formal training. Obviously, in mental health, that's really important. I would say like I took a lot of psychology classes just for funsies because I wanted to learn about it. I was interested. Obviously, I think a psychology degree would be awesome. I wanted to do a psychology minor, but for whatever reason, CU Boulder didn't have that as an option. So I don't know why, but yeah, I think just the literally the lived experience and the deep understanding we have of social media and how it affects our generation is in and of itself expertise. And like I have friends that are in Congress every single day teaching congressmen and senators, these issues and talking to them about it. And like we are the experts as young people. So that's like a really cool thing in this industry specifically that might not apply across other industries. But yeah, does that answer it?
It does answer. Thank
Cool.
you.
Yeah. Yes.
So you just mentioned actually how you're talking with like older generations and like Congress members about like digital well-being and like the importance of it. So with your business, how do you get around like that stigma and like that belief that, oh, it doesn't really exist, like kind of ideal? And when you're trying to pass different bills and trying to get people to listen to you, especially as a young person, sometimes they don't take us as seriously because, we haven't lived as longer or we don't have the experience that's qualified. So what's like your takeaways about how to get around that and then still push through to get your like message across?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel lucky, again, very niche specifically to the industry I'm working in. Like we have this interesting dynamic where like young people kind of are like we're the people to listen to, like we're the leaders, we're somehow respected. And that's not always the case, but I would say a lot more so than a lot of other topics or areas where like you have to be a tenured researcher or a professor or someone who's like an old expert that has like wisdom. Like that's definitely the case for a lot of other places where you might want to enact social change. I think my experience is there is still some barriers. Like I feel the need to be extremely over prepared and I have to prove myself. Like if I walk into the room, they're probably gonna think I'm just a college student, whatever. Like they don't think much of you until you prove yourself. So that is a barrier you have to move through is you have to show up. You have to be eloquent, you have to be on time, you have to be respectful, you have to know what you're talking about, you have to have facts and statistics to back up your claims. And pretty quickly what I find is, if you do that, they'll be like, whoa, okay, she actually knows what she's talking about, And also I think like with my work specifically, like impact always speaks for itself. It's like I was at this panel and some old dude was kind of trying to like shut me down and talk to me in a way of he didn't really know what he was talking about, but he felt confident just because he was older. And someone in the audience literally stood up was like, she has been in more schools and talked to more students than you've ever talked to in your whole life. She knows what young people are going through, you don't. And so that alone is just proving that like maybe I haven't lived for 50 years or had like 10 degrees or research experience, but like I know what I'm talking about because of the work that I do and because of the lived experience I have. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I think just kind of showing up and being authentic is also important. Storytelling is really important, like getting into emotion and relatability I think is crucial as well. And the last one I would say is like equal respect, I guess, is important, like going both ways. Because for example, when I wrote that petition early on, I was pissed. Like I was so angry and I was like, I hate the school district. These people are idiots. Like, I was ready to go to war with them basically. And then I realized after having some meetings with them that first of all, the guy I was working with was so sweet and like well-meaning, but also that like we're not gonna get anywhere by being like, I know more than you, I'm better than you. Like we work together and that's where this beautiful stuff came up. And so finding adult allies that are willing to elevate youth voices is so important. And I feel so lucky. I have so many awesome mentors and like people who just like put me in these, opportunities and try to elevate my voice as a young person rather than trying to be like them being the leader in it. So yeah, I feel lucky because it's not something I struggle with that much because of the industry I'm in. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you have to advocate for yourself and like convince people. So when you're going to like pitching your mission and about yourself, how do you convince other people that you're the right fit and instead of them going to like, oh, another like someone else like with the same like mission?
Good question. Again, lucky industry, I would say, but there's not that many. Like, this is a very new thing. Like the digital well-being industry is a baby. Like, it's been around for like 4 years, I would say. Like for the kind of the depth and scope of impact that it has and the amount of organizations it has, it's very new. So like, I'm one of the only, not me. NOSO is one of the only digital wellness education programs that exists. Like there's obviously like, I would say probably like 10 other large-ish organizations doing that work, but like they're very new. A lot of them aren't youth led. So that's already a value proposition that we have. We also started very early on in 2020. A lot of these organizations just got created last year, year before. So having traction, credibility, impact, and like long-term showing that like, schools will come back to us year after year, stuff like that. That alone is usually enough for them to be like, what, we want you. But also understand like we're not gonna win every school. We're not gonna win every, opportunity. We don't need to or want to. Like I want to have deep impact in the communities we serve rather than working in every single school across the country. So there's so many schools. Like I'm not that worried about that. And obviously as the industry grows, there's gonna be a lot more kind of competitors. But at the end of the day, in the social impact space, we're all reaching the same goal. We're trying to help young people form healthier tech-life balance. So like if you get a school and I don't, great. You're promoting digital wellness. That's my goal too. So it's kind of that thought of like we're all in it together, and I think there's enough schools and customers, I guess, to go around. So it's something that I'm lucky to like have pretty ease with. Also, like there's a big gap in resources. Like we don't market to schools. Schools come to us. Like I don't even have to ask schools to work with us. They literally are they're like, we need something, please, like come in, So I think that's another benefit is this is just something that's very like new and is a need that communities have. So we are able to fill that need pretty naturally. Yeah. I saw, was it you guys? Yeah.
You mentioned that you were a youth counselor. I want to ask, how was that experience? How long did that last? When did you actually feel that your voice was heard, or did they just like, kind of like put that as a quick fix? Okay, let me just hire them as a youth counselor.
Yeah, I would say the title was more youth consultant, but like super similar. Yeah. Yeah, it was, I would say like, it was a little like, my voice was heard and we did get initiatives off the ground, which was the goal. It was harder than I thought though, because schools generally have so much red tape and so many layers to go through. So when I was trying to create change, you know, they really gave me the flexibility and creativity to kind of come up with the ideas, but then actually implementing them was like a pain in the butt. And a lot of times I'd get kind of passed around all these different people to ask for permission and then it kind of flopped or something. So that's when like I realized like how valuable simplicity is, like just being like, can I go in one classroom and talk to 30 students and ask them to try this challenge rather than like, let's launch this district-wide initiative and change this protocol and like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like starting small grassroots, I think is where I got the most traction. That's how NoSo started, was that one classroom. So that was something that was really helpful. But I think like, yeah, I felt listened to, but then in the kind of bureaucracy of all of it, it got really frustrating. I had a similar experience. I actually worked with some of the regents and the like head people at CU Boulder, and I was made aware that they had like a $6 million endowment from an anonymous donor for suicide prevention that had been sitting there for like 6 years because they didn't know what to do with it. And so we proposed this, like with like 3 other suicide prevention partners, we proposed this awesome plan of like, we'll only use like $1 million of it. Like we'll go hard in the paint. We'll create like, we're going to create like mental health vans that could like pick up students if they were like suicidal to like take them to the hospital and actually give them therapy rather than like police presence. We had all these ideas. And it went through like 20 people and then just literally went nowhere, and that money is still sitting there. And people are killing themselves all the time at CU Boulder and they just don't talk about it. So like, that's just how schools are. Not all schools, I don't know about your school, but a lot of schools just have so much red tape and it's so frustrating. So yeah, it sucks. Working in schools is a pain in the butt, but I think making, at least trying to get your voice heard and seeing what you can do at a small level first is always what I'd recommend. Are we running out of time?
Yeah, so for the sake of time, if you can save your questions, of course, Maddie's given her contact info, but we just have this one right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so nice.
Can you step forward?
Yes, definitely.
Before I give it to Adam, can we just give her another round of applause, please?
Thank you.
So thank you, Maddie, for delivering such an impactful and authentic speech. Your work is truly inspiring, and you know you have shown how you can make such great impact at such a young age, and you inspire everyone here to take action. You are a true testament how you can turn pain into purpose. And with that, because you have protected our courage, and in Watson we have a tradition to do that, we would like to cape you.
Do I turn around?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yay.
see, it's this way.
Want me to do it?
There we go. All right.
Yeah, I've never worked with you before.
And
That's so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
yeah,
A lot. Thanks. Yay. You guys are so sweet.
Thank you so much.
Behind her saying that.
Thank you so much, Maddie. If we can put our hands together once again for Maddie. You know, Maddie's voice and story and journey is a powerful reminder that we share with all of you. Don't let your youth be a barrier to the things that you can do right now.
Yes.
Again, the things that we do in all of your small classrooms, use that as your opportunity to feel change. And if you hit a roadblock, I mean, it's a good problem to have. It means that there's people enough that are at least thinking about you, you know, and be remembered in the good way, but then use your adult allies to help, use your peers to help. And you know, it's the work that we do every day. So thank you for that reminder. Put your hands together for yourself, guys.
Yeah.
We do this, you know, every Friday, every other Friday, Wednesday. I know that that can feel daunting, but you're here and these are the stories that you get to hear, and you guys are showing up. So everything that Maddie said, show up, be authentic, be yourself, be professional, be eloquent. You will be taken seriously, I promise you. But all that to say is thank you. We'll take a group picture and we'll wrap up. Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you. I challenge you guys to go out of your comfort zone today. Do one thing that makes you uncomfortable and see what happens. Lots of challenge.
Yeah.